opened by another African bank when there were no international banks to add confirmation with letters of credit. How would intra-African trade in creative and cultural goods have occurred if there was no one promoting them? How would intra-African trade amongst Africans in Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora have occurred if there was no deliberate effort to push them? Need I explain any further why we had to fight on all fronts? Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted that because we fought on all fronts, we can point to tangible differences the bank has made. We can now point to those things that now exist, those new institutional arrangements and interventions that have now joined as formidable forces in Africa's armory in its fight towards true self. Those things that we look up to today, many of which were mere hopes and aspirations 10 years ago. For instance, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement implementation is ahead of schedule, thanks, as you've heard from the Secretary General, to Afrexim Bank support. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is backed by Afrexim Bank $3 billion clearing and settlement facility, is today operational in 20 countries and counting. After more than 60 years of political independence, we are finally on the verge of integrating the continent's 42 payment systems into a single payment rail. And finally, we have made African currencies legal tenders across African borders. The FCFT Adjustment Fund, aimed at supporting FCFTA participating states to adjust in an orderly manner to the new trading regime, is today a reality, thanks to the partnership between the FCFTA Secretariat and the Afrexim Bank, as well as the bank's $1 billion commitment to support the fund. We are addressing the lack of trade information by launching and implementing the Intra-African Trade Fair, which has held 4 times so far, attracting over $170 billion in trade and investment deals and 180,000 visitors. Our digital platform, the Africa Trade Gateway, uses digital technology to break down information barriers, while our Afrexim Bank Africa Trade Centers, which have sprung up across the continent, provide solid platforms for intra-African trade and investment information. About 700 standards for pharmaceuticals and medical equipment, agriculture, automobiles, textiles, and so on have been harmonized, enabling smoother intra-African trade. We are building testing and certification centers across Africa to ensure that there is infrastructure to implement the standards we have helped to harmonize. Working with the AFCFTA Secretariat and COMESA, we have launched the Africa Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme, supported by $1 billion in guarantee limits from Afrexim Bank. So today, and one day, it will be possible for goods to move from Cape to Cairo with just one transit bond. With Afrexim Bank support, industrial parks and special economic zones are springing up like mushrooms across Africa, creating manufactured exports where none existed. We have worked with Arise integrated industrial platforms to build out industrial parks, helping to process goods that used to leave Africa as mere commodities. We have supported the emergence of heavy industries, such as the Dangote refinery and petrochemical plant, which are exporting not only within Africa, but internationally. Thanks to our work in the past few years, social, cultural, and economic ties with the CARICOM and the broader Africa diaspora have been ignited. Through our Africa Medical Center of Excellence, we have paved the way for quality healthcare to become accessible to many Africans. Getting proper healthcare will soon be a right and no longer a privilege on the continent. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when Africa was left to fend for itself, we rose to the challenge, disbursing over $10 billion in the COVID-19 containment intervention. We also put up $2 billion that enabled Africa and the Caribbean to procure the COVID-19 vaccines when nobody was there to support Africa. Sometimes I wonder what the African Union would have done if there was no Afreximbank. While doing all of this, we still kept a sharp focus on institutional strength and financial health, and grew the balance sheet and guarantees almost eightfold, from $6 billion in September 2015 to almost $44 billion in September 2025. We grew revenues and net income equally and paid out an aggregate of almost $1.4 billion to shareholders as dividends for the same period. So investing in the bank yields two types of dividends: the development dividend we all want, and the dividends that those who invest can put in their pockets. Notwithstanding the foregoing highlights, I do not need to reiterate the eloquent presentations made by my current and former colleagues and the esteemed guest speakers throughout the day. Those presentations, along with the report card I presented at the 32nd annual meetings in Abuja last June, summarize our collective progress and achievements over the last 3 decades, particularly in the past 10 years. We could not have accomplished any of these without the extraordinary support from many of you gathered here today, and even those who are not here, who are from different places. Your support has been instrumental in elevating the bank to the current stature. The key purpose of my speech this evening is therefore to say thank you to you all for giving me immense opportunities, tolerating my weaknesses, giving me the benefit of the doubt, and helping me to rise to my full potential. While recognizing that the debt of gratitude I owe is immense, please permit me to cite a few examples. My postgraduate studies at Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife, Nigeria, introduced me to a remarkable man who will have a profound impact on my life. I would like to pay special tribute to Professor Deniyi Osuntogu, who took me under his wings and instilled in me the values that have become the foundations and guiding principles of my life's journey. As we heard from President Dodu, he identified an opportunity at the Nigerian Export-Import Bank, deemed me worthy of the challenge, and introduced me to President Dodu, who was then the managing director. That single decision changed my life's trajectory. The future of a family, a community, an institution, and even a continent cannot be decisions made by those we encounter along our paths. Professor Shutogu, your choice in 1992 to introduce me to Mr. Dodu opened me to this opportunity, the fruits of which we celebrate today. So for everything you've done for me, for Afrexim Bank, I say thank you, Prof. Special thanks to Mr. Christopher Dodu, pioneer president of Afrexim Bank, who, despite having closed interviews for a position at Nexim, still gave me a chance to prove myself. He provided me with the opportunity to explore uncharted waters at the early stages of Afrexim Bank in Cairo, mentored and challenged me at an intense pace, for which I am particularly thankful, because those days prepared me for subsequent work in Afrexim Bank. I also had a unique opportunity of working under the insightful and solid banker, Mr. Jean-Louis Ekra. As Executive Vice President for Business Development and Corporate Banking, I collaborated closely with him to define the strategic direction of the bank. During the shareholder crisis that shook the bank to its very foundations, he instilled confidence in all of us and entrusted me with responsibilities that I believe prepared me for the presidency of the bank later. Thank you very much, sir, for your trust and confidence. I would like to extend our utmost gratitude to the former and current leadership of the African Union Commission for the strong partnership we developed over the past decade. The partnership and support were instrumental in the delivery of many impactful Pan-African projects and initiatives we pursued. I would like to pay special tribute to His Excellency Ambassador Muchanga, the former Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Industry and Mining at the African Union Commission, for his pioneer African Union Commission. Special thanks to the current chairperson, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and his deputy, dear sister who is here with us, Her Excellency Professor Salma Malika Haddadi, as well as the preceding chair, His Excellency Musa Faki Mahamat, and his deputy also, Her Excellency Dr. Monique Zanzabagiwa, for being strong advocates for the bank. As an intra-African trade bank, Afrexim Bank naturally found a partner in the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat under the indefatigable leadership of our dear brother, His Excellency Mr. Wankele Mene. From its inception, the AFCFTA Secretariat has forged an unassailable bond with Afrexim Bank. Together, we formed an enduring partnership dedicated to building a resilient future for our people. Since 2019, we've collaborated to establish several institutional structures and programs that are just beginning to catalyze intra-African trade and the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Again, the success of that collaboration reflects the power of synergies between policy and development finance institutions. And thank His Excellency Kelebene for his unwavering commitment to our partnership and our shared vision for Africa. Our Afrexim Bank has retained and strengthened its partnership with other regional and international organizations towards the delivery of many of its flagship programs and initiatives. We are especially grateful to the International Trade Center under the able leadership of our sister, Mrs. Pamela Cook-Hamilton, which helped create and roll out new programs such as the How to Trade under the AFCFTA, designed to build the capacity of African SMEs to trade under the Free Trade Agreement. Our policy and research collaboration with the UN Economic Commission for Africa has been robust. The collaboration was particularly strong during the COVID-19 pandemic, alongside Vera Song with the former Executive Secretary of UNECA and Strive Masiwa, AU champion for COVID-19 logistics. We provided solutions that help mitigate the health and the economic impact of the pandemic. I am very pleased that this strong partnership has continued under the leadership of our brother, Dr. Clever Gatete, with whom we are jointly championing industrialization and climate initiatives. Special thanks are also due to Her Excellency Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Secretary General of the WTO, for her continued support, especially as regards the Cotton 4 project, as well as a joint effort to convince FIFA to procure jerseys from Africa so that we can participate in the $9 billion or so procurement that FIFA makes every year. In the pursuit of advancing intra-African trade, we have relied on strategic partnerships to develop enabling programs. ZEPRI and the Commercial Secretariat have played a crucial role in designing and implementing the Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme. We are grateful to the leadership of both institutions for their bold vision, which enabled us to realize the aspirations of Africa's 4 leaders. We've also collaborated with African Central Bank governors to roll out the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. And at this juncture, I would like in particular to recognize the role played by the West African Monetary Institute in getting the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System off the ground as they worked with us to start off the pilot project in the West African Monetary Zone. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a few years ago, we began taking concrete steps towards building Africa's resilience against future pandemics and epidemics, improving access to quality healthcare, and achieving health independence. Thanks to King's College Hospital, London, we've established world-class medical infrastructure in Nigeria and are currently developing similar facilities across Africa, specifically Central Africa and East Africa. I'm deeply indebted to Professor Ghulam Mufti and his colleagues, including Dr. Anwar Al-Hag, Professor Onitilo, for believing in this project and lending us their considerable expertise to ensure its success. In establishing the first MCE in Nigeria, we relied on the support of the Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the late President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, as well as their very committed senior officials, including former Foreign Minister Geoffrey Onyema, Secretary to the government, Prof. Gambari and Boss Mustafa, who is here, as well as the current and former Vice President of Nigeria, the Excellency Vice President Sambo and Kashi Shetima. They were very, very supportive and instrumental making us deliver on this project. A few years ago, we launched an aggressive initiative to decommoditize the African economy. After an initial unsuccessful attempt to go it alone, we turned to our long-term client, the Arise Integrated Industrial Platform, for collaboration. And the partnership had led to one of the bank's most significant accomplishments in industrial transformation. The partnership has demonstrated that industrial development can only happen if we pursue it with vigor and deliberate commitment. Together with seasoned industrialists, we have created a clear and dependable pathway to Africa's industrial transformation. We are making vital investments that are closing the industrial infrastructure gap and catalyzing intra-African and global investments into the continent. We must thank Mr. Aliko Dangote for being a strong partner and a visionary supporter of this initiative. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the successes enumerated earlier wouldn't have been possible if our clients had not considered us worthy of their businesses. We are therefore grateful to all our clients who have become central pillars of transformation in Africa. We are particularly grateful to all 500 banks with whom we have forged strong relationships over the past decade. Major corporates such as the Dangote Group, S.A. Woody Group, NMPC, Sonangol, and many more, for thinking us worthy of their business and supporting us in other ways so that the relationship has become a win-win relationship.